What is up, Sooner Nation? I am Casey Mallon, and you are now in a Sooner state of mind. Make sure you subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon Music. Sooner State of Mind family, Happy New Year 2026. Got any resolutions? Probably. Are you already sticking with them? Hope so. Under a week into the new year, so you better be handling them resolutions. I haven't set any this year, but I'm sure I will. So we'll see what happens with that. The new year brings the transfer portal. It is open. And as of now, the Sooners have 21 players entering the portal. Couple surprising names on there. No. Jaydn Gibson, Kendall Dolby, Kobe McKenzie, not really digging seeing his name on there. Caden Helms, Jacob Sexton, Javante Barnes, Troy Everett. That one kind of hurts a little bit. The Hawkins brothers, Michael Hawkins Jr. and Malik Hawkins, Gentry Williams, Logan Howland, KJ Daniels, Carson Kent, Marcus Strong's a little bit of a head scratcher. And then Taylor Tatum, the running back, he's on there. Most of these cats still have a bunch of eligibility left. And only really a couple names on there that I'm not, a little broken up about seeing. Nothing too much. Taylor Tatum came in with huge expectations, and when he was in there, he fumbled a lot, and then he got hurt and never either stayed hurt all last year and never got the trust back of the coaching staff. So getting talented running backs hasn't been a problem for this team. Getting production out of heavily touted running backs has been a problem. But 21 players for the Sooners. This is going on everywhere. And these days, it's hard to know who was processed, meaning either they weren't going to have much or any playing time, or their NIL money was going to be reduced. There's a lot of that going on behind the scenes everywhere now. So, that's the other side of this NIL deal. These guys wanted to get paid, which they totally deserve. But now, if you are going to get paid, you got to earn that money, playa. Sooners got sizzled with the Jaydn Ott deal. That pissed off a lot of people, rightfully so. Homie got the bag and then did nothing. And you never really know what's going on behind the scenes. There's usually a little more to it than what's on the surface. But for whatever reason, it did not work out with that cat. And it never seemed like he was highly motivated. A ringer off here. So the Jaydn Ott deal, that's going to put even more attention and demand for some instant ROI on any and all NIL money, a little return on investment. And the Sooners definitely have some areas of need moving into the 2026 season. None more than the tight end position. And to put it mildly, it's been a highly disappointing position for these Sooners, really, since Mark Andrews was here. Last guy I remember dominating at the position. And this year, the only tight end that had any production was Jaren Kanak, and he started 2025 as a linebacker. So it was slim pickings there. Caden Helm kind of got it together, but still no real production out of the situation. Besides the Sooners lucking out with Kanak being such a tremendous athlete. And now it looks like the sword has to fall. And it looks like that sword is falling on Joe Jon Finley. Looks like he is out as the tight ends coach. Much as Sooner Nation has been clamoring for this change for quite some time. And I get it, man. You never want to see somebody's job on the line or their money, anything getting funny with it. Joe Jon's got a family, people that love him, but you cannot argue that there has been a tremendous lack of production and development at that position under his watch. I don't know if that's all his fault, but when you're the tight ends coach, there's expectation. And when you're a position coach at OU, there are expectations. And just for whatever reason, never lived up to those expectations. So looks like there's going to be some fresh blood there. And there are a couple wild names out there being thrown around as Joe Jon's possible replacement. It'd be pretty interesting if any of these names hit, but it would also make sense if Ben Arbuckle has some input as to who the next tight ends coach will be. But no matter who it is, that position can no longer be a liability for this team, especially in the run game. We could never get the run going, and trying to use the tight ends to help facilitate that just never really worked out either. And it would be nice to get offensive production from that position. Few catches, some receiving yards, a couple receiving touchdowns. That would be nice. But at a minimum, we need to get, if nothing else, just much better blocking from our tight ends. And they need to be a much bigger part of the offensive equation, no matter what the offense looks like next year. Have to figure that position out. It can no longer be a detriment to what the offense is trying to do. It's got to at least hold up its end of the bargain to be neutral. Ideally, we'd like it to be a positive, and that's what we've grown to expect. And that's kind of what we need for next year to help get that run game going, get it back up to the level it needs to be, help shore up that protection and add another dimension to the offense. And I fully trust Nagy and company to get the right guys to do just that. I'm stoked about this, man. I think Nagy brings the juice, and this will be his first full offseason as the GM for Oklahoma. And he's got a very talented team. He's plucked his guys from different NFL squads, different college squads, all kinds of different evaluation of football levels, pro and college. All these dudes have a ton of NFL experience or a ton of college experience. That's a win, baby. And I believe this team is headed in the right direction. And I think most of the most important players will be back. And I trust Nagy and his team to fill the holes with the transfer portal and trust that they're bringing in the right class of 2026. And as disappointing as the end of the season was, let's put this thing in perspective, people. This team was expected to go 7-5 or 8-4 with that completely brutal schedule. And this team overachieved, even without the offensive production that we hoped to get. Defense was lights out. And if you would have told me going into last season that not only was our starting quarterback going to break the thumb on his throwing hand 2 weeks before the Texas game, 2 S's, and that these Sooners would still win 10 games and host a playoff, I would have said, sign me up. You know, and if just a couple of plays go differently in that playoff game against Alabama, your boy is sitting in the stands at the Rose Bowl watching our Sooners take on those Indiana Hoosiers. And full disclosure, after watching that Rose Bowl, I am not sure how well that game would have gone for us with the lack of consistency with the offense, although I felt like we were trending in the right direction. But I would have still loved the opportunity to find out if we could have hung with those Hoosiers, who were very impressive. And we're going to get to a recap of that Rose Bowl game in just a minute. But for everyone freaking out on the Sooners, let's go back in time a little bit. We're talking about the Hoosiers, right? This Hoosiers team was not expected to do much this year. They were initially ranked 20th by the experts in the preseason poll. And let's not forget, this Indiana team made the playoffs last year before getting bounced in the first round by Notre Dame. And now, just a year later, they're the number one ranked team in the country and looking like they are on their way to a national championship. Looking solid. Came out there and kicked the crap out of Alabama. But before we get back to Indiana kicking the crap out of Alabama, sorry, got to stay caffeinated today. It's one of those days. Storm watch in LA. All that rain's got me tired. But before we get back to Indiana, let's go back to Notre Dame, who maybe has the softest, most petulant, and saddest fan base in all the land. And if you don't spend much time on Twitter, don't start now. It is one of the most awful places on the internet. And I don't know about where you live, but in LA, if you think people are their worst selves in traffic, in gridlock, commuting to and from work, Twitter makes that behavior look like kid stuff. There is some juvenile and completely awful behavior in the Twitter sphere. And I have never seen a fan base cry so hard about a team. If you ask Notre Dame fan, they are the best team to ever play football, and it was a complete travesty that they were not included in the 12-team playoff. Sorry, Domers. You lost to Miami, and you lost to Texas A&M, and if you win one of those two games, you are in. But you didn't, so you weren't. But these cats are still crying about it over a month later. I thought it was upstate New York, but apparently Niagara Falls is in South Bend, Indiana, and it's pathetic. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's even worse than Texas fan, who, by the way, is flexing so hard over a Cheetos Bowl win, all after being the first preseason number one ranked team to not qualify for the 12-team playoff. And they're still flapping the gums. But shockingly, they are not even close to being the worst fan base out there. Delusional, sure, but not the worst. And BYU fan out there crying about not being included too. They played Tech twice and got blowed out both times. I don't know how they expected to get in there. Oh, but Bama. You know, inevitably, this thing will move to 16 teams. And then 17 and 18 will be crying about not being included. But it has been absolutely nauseating with the amount of sour grapes being squeezed by some of these fan bases. It's been so bad that I found myself in certain situations defending Bama And I hate Bama. But there's a lot of revisionist history going on after the games, and one game equates to the whole season. And the people that are drawing conclusions for the non-playoff bowl games, they're an even bigger joke. The non-playoff bowl games don't mean much anymore. They're fun and it's a cool experience for the players, and they get the extra time, the extra practices. Those are all major, but the outcomes of the bowl games, they don't matter. It's rare that you get a matchup of two teams that have all their coaching staffs in place, all their players in place. All the guys are sitting out, opting out for new NIL deals or going into the portal. It's not the same as it used to be. And those games do not tell the tale about any regular season stuff. So if you want to decide things, strap it up and play those games in the regular season. Hear a lot of, oh, and I don't even like a lot of the teams in the SEC, but diminishing the conference because of what happens in some of these bowl games. False equivalencies, people. Yeah, back to the playoffs. I do not mind going to 16 teams. And I do think all 16 teams included will not be able to win a championship. I don't even think all 12 teams this year would have been able to win. That being said, I still want to see the games. I love watching football, so I'll watch all of it. But what I think must happen, even with Indiana bucking this trend, we need to give the teams that qualify for the bye week, they need to host the playoff game on campus. That's one way to handle it. Those games had tremendous juice, the campus games. Completely awesome. And the teams that earn those bye weeks need to be rewarded, and it needs to be a home game. Because as of now, they're having a month off, which used to, when both teams had a month off, it was cool. You know, it was usually the better coaching staff will get their team ready for that. But with one team being off for a month and the opponent playing a game just a week or so before your game, that's like a detriment to the team that's been on a bye. 1 week, cool, you get healthy. 2 weeks, long time, almost a month, way too long. Of course, Indiana is the outlier. They handled that biz, but they were the only team to do so in the first 2 years of this thing. So that is something I would love to see change. So we just talked about Indiana, so that is a little foreshadowing. So let's go ahead and get into these games. And everybody said what was going to happen, but nobody really knew what was going to happen. And it got started New Year's Eve. The U at Ohio State. Easy win for the Buckeyes. Wrong. Miami jumped out to a 14-0 lead and then did enough to hold on down the stretch. They were the most physical team at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. They were the team that ran the ball the best. They got after Julian Sand, picking him a couple of times. Jeremiah Smith with that late touchdown, we thought, okay, it's finally going to happen. But Miami was able to ride it out and run that clock down. And the Canes, there was a lot of talk, especially from the Domers. Oh, we should be in ahead of them. BYU, oh, we should be ahead of Miami. Miami went and handled that business 24-14, and the Canes are staying alive. That was a pretty sweet game. A very interesting start to this round of the playoffs. Then New Year's Day. Happy New Year, everybody. Oregon. goes and embarrasses Texas Tech 23-0. Tech's defense kept him in this thing. First half, it was 6-0 at halftime, and they turned the ball over a couple times and really held Oregon out of the end zone. But the Red Raiders could never get anything going on offense, and Oregon completely shut them down. And everybody was besmirching this Oregon team last week because they gave up all the points to JMU, even though it was second and third string players out there. But Oregon looked impressive, did just enough on offense, rode the wave of that tremendous defensive effort by the Ducks, and the Ducks lived to move on. And then the Rose Bowl, talked about it a little bit. Indiana put the stomping on Bama, 38-3, and it probably should have been 38-0. Kellen DeBoer kicks that field goal just to get some points in this thing, but Indiana was impressive. Super physical on both sides of the football. Bama hadn't been able to run all year. They were unable to run in this thing. And Indiana, man, just physical. You know, the first game this season that I really took note of Indiana was that Oregon game when they went up to Eugene and just out-physicaled the Ducks. Well, they completely out-physicaled Bama in this one. Fernando, efficient, 14-16, 192, 3 TDs. Anytime he had an opportunity to take a play, he took it, and he made it happen. Outstanding game from the Heisman Trophy winner. And this game was so one-sided. That's when all the chuds came out and all the, oh, Bama didn't deserve to be there. They got blowed out of this game. I don't know who would have played much better than these guys in this game, man. Indiana, top to bottom, looked stronger, faster, and were completely more physical. So I don't know that anybody would have wanted that smoke on Thursday. So it'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. But Indiana, they looked like what you think a number 1 seed going up against a number 9 seed would look like. And just thoroughly impressed and stoked for Indiana fan, man. It's been a while since they've had something. And actually, Indiana's been much classier on the social medias than any of the other Big Ten schools. Way classier than Ohio State had been leading up to their game. And some of the bigger mouthpieces for the Big Ten have been talking all kinds of crazy smack. And the SEC slander, which, let's get it straight, I don't root for any teams in the SEC other than my Sooners. But to say that this isn't one of the toughest conferences, if not the toughest, top to bottom, is a bunch of crap. Now, preface that by saying scholarship and roster limits have evened the playing field. But it's still about whatever team can get the biggest roster together, pay that money, and get their team going forward. Although I guess that did not work for Texas this year. Supposedly spent $40 million putting their roster together. But it is a more equal playing field, and we're not going to see dynasties anymore, and we will probably see different winners more often than not moving forward. But that being said, you got to love what Cignetti's done with this squad, and one of the favorites moving forward, a team that I like to root for. And I just said all that crap about not rooting for an SEC team. Not so fast, my friend, because the nightcap might have been the best game out of the entire 2-day situation. Number 6, Ole Miss takes down number 3, Georgia, 39-27. to 34. And this was an outstanding football game, man. It was two boxers going toe to toe, just headshot, body shot, back and forth, man. This thing was awesome. Kirby's Dogs going into halftime up 21-12. You thought that might be it. Because when these two teams matched up in the regular season, it was Ole Miss that was playing ahead and choked away, or I wouldn't even say choke away, that they ran out of steam in the fourth quarter and Georgia caught them. This time it was Ole Miss. They scored 20 fourth quarter points to put that game away. Trinidad Chambliss, definitely the best quarterbacking of the four games that we saw. 30 of 46, 362, 2 touchdowns, made a couple outstanding scramble plays, made all the right reads. Dude was awesome. We saw Lacey get going. He had 22 for 98, had a big fumble, but came back with 2 big touchdowns. And Ole Miss, man, hit that field goal to put it away, and then get the weird safety, and then the weird kickoff, and all that stuff happened with like 1 second left on the clock. But Ole Miss avenged that loss and handled that biz and took down Georgia. And if you weren't already on the hate lane train, there is plenty of room, because now we're not sure what's going to happen with the rest of the Ole Miss coaching staff. And if Lane Kiffin is as petty as we believe him to be, he's going to rip those coaches off of this staff moving forward and not let them participate in the next round of the playoffs and put Ole Miss at a disadvantage. If the Rebs didn't hate this cat already, what levels of hate do you think are going to be there if that happens and he pulls Charlie Weiss Jr. and company and the rest of those guys? That would be such a shitty thing to do, but it would be right on brand. So we will have to see what happens. But what an incredible football game. Gunnar Stockton was nice in this game too. A couple huge fourth down conversions. Kept battling back. It even looked like the Dogs might take over, but Ole Miss was able to hold on. And now we are down to 4 people. And it gets going on Thursday, January 8th. First game up, Fiesta Bowl. It is Miami versus Ole Miss. Right now, spread's got Miami as 3.5-point favorites in this thing. But like I said, if you want to jump on the hate lane train, there's plenty of room, because I would love to see Ole Miss get to the chip and win it without him. Not because they're SEC, but because of what a dirtbag move he did to the squad and the dirtbag move that is pending. Wouldn't that be hysterical? He leaves because he can't win one there, and they go ahead and win it without him. I would love to see that. And then on Friday at the Peach Bowl, Battle of Big Ten squads. It's Oregon versus Indiana. Right now, Indiana are 4-point favorites. Indiana went to Eugene and beat these Ducks earlier in the season. Very close game, 1-score game. Do they have more magic in them? What did Oregon learn from that game that they can fix and do better moving forward? It's going to be tough for the fans to travel to this one, especially if you were in LA last week and now you got to go all the way out to hot Atlanta. Or if you're an Oregon fan and you were in Florida, did you plan on just staying another week and then just take a roadie up to Georgia? I guess if you got the cash to do so, you might have done something like that. But if you did that, you might as well stay for another 10 days, because it's going down in Miami on the 19th. And hopefully these games live up to the hype. Of course, If Miami wins, oh, the SEC was terrible, shouldn't have had a team in there. And if Ole Miss wins, oh, it's just the ACC. And, the Big Ten will be, oh, all Big Ten, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I guess it's fun to talk back and forth, but I just want good football. And 3 of these 4 teams don't have a natty: Ole Miss, Oregon, and Indiana. Miami's a cool story. If they win this thing, they'll be hosting. Wouldn't that be crazy town? But I'm digging the hate lane train, baby. Chugging for. Come on. And it's hard not to like Indiana or Oregon. Indiana fan has been waiting a long time for this. So who knows, man? It is going to be some sweet, sweet football action, and I am here for it. If you need more bowl coverage, you need more Sooner love, you need some NFL action, head on over to Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. Go to shows, type in Sooner State of Mind. That's Sooner State of Mind. And you are locked, my friends. We have a ton of great content. Every team, every topic, everywhere. Believe.com. And go ahead and make sure you subscribe to Sooner State of Mind on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon Music. And if you want to watch Sooner State of Mind, head on over to YouTube. Search the Football Dudes. We are there. Want to wish everybody a happy and healthy 2026. Lots of good stuff right around the corner. Sooner State of Mind family. It's all good. We're going to be back better than ever. My name is Casey Mallon, and I am in a Sooner State of Mind.